Going back to my sister, when she got sick, she had these moments where, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. And I was like, I don't want to have any regrets. I wanted to do something in her memory, so I actually named the agency Katch after her. I made it pink because at her funeral, she wanted everyone to wear crazy colours of pink. So even my creative director and I having fights over branding at the moment because he keeps trying to lighten the pink. And I'm like, no, you're not going to do that. Mother-in-laws, my goodness me. I was a wedding planner. Probably the most challenging job I've ever had. You have to keep the mother-in-law happy, and I'm always the one stuck with that person.
Oh my word.
I'd learnt so much in the hospitality industry, from wetting the glasses, starters, mains, canapes going out through to service. My event experience really came from being a wedding planner.
Hello, my friends, and a very warm welcome back to the Chef JKP podcast. Christmas is next week. Next week. Tell me your plans. Are you in service? Are you on vacation? Are you cooking for the family? Do please let me know in the comments section, as we are in full swing and Santa is prepping those gifts. By the way, I hope that if you're working during this time, at least you and your teams, you're doing like a little secret Santa. So I'll give you, a secret Santa is where you give each other funny presents. And if you don't know what it is, basically, it's a small budget thing, right? You put all of your names into a hat, you mix it all together, right? And then you pick the name, don't show anybody. And then you get that person a really funny or fun present. And then over the festive period, you give it to whoever that person is, but you don't tell them. That's why it's called Secret Santa. All right? At the same time, what shall I get? What shall I get for Christmas? What are you guys going to get me for Christmas? I'm waiting. Is it a new chef's jacket? Is it a new knife? A new microphone? Do please let me know. Before we jump in, if you like what we're doing, then please hit that all-important subscribe button on YouTube, or tap follow wherever you get your podcasts, as it helps to keep these conversations going. And of course, it being festive, talking about episodes, we have an amazing Christmas festive special episode coming up, which you do not want to miss. So look out for that coming your way very, very soon, like a little Christmas present from me to you. Season 11 continues to bring you stories that shine a light on the untold forces shaping hospitality. And today, we're speaking with someone who literally helped shape them from behind the scenes. Oh my word. Now, today's guest is someone you don't always see in the spotlight, but whose work is all over the dining, hospitality, and F&B media world in the Middle East and beyond. Georgie Woollam Edwards is the managing director of Katch International, based in London and Dubai, a strategic marketing PR experiential agency. Under her leadership, Katch has carved out a niche, especially in food and beverage, elevating brands, restaurants, and hotels with bold storytelling, immersive campaigns, and real-world impact. Georgie's philosophy that PR isn't just about press releases. It's about emotion, experience, memory. She's built campaigns where guests feel the brand before they ever take a bite. Today, we're going to peel back that layer, explore what it truly takes to launch a restaurant, a brand, a vision in the Middle East's fast-moving culture. How to build and sustain a buzz in an oversaturated marketplace. And most importantly, how the story behind the food becomes as critical as the food itself. Get comfortable, grab a drink, take a breath, and let's sit with a strategist whose work gives meaning to the moment when we walk into a restaurant. Time to rock and roll.
Hi, I'm Georgie, founder of Katch International. If you like this podcast, please make sure you follow, share and subscribe.
Georgie, a very warm welcome to the show. Now, as is customary, can you tell me your first or favourite childhood food memory?
My grandma's cupcakes.
Tell me all, please.
So they were either pink icing or blue icing with hundreds and thousands, but you would always get a big tin of them on a Sunday from Grandma, and then they would last for the week, and then you go back to Grandma's house and get them again.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so how many were in the family? Was she doing a lot of cupcakes?
It was her thing. It was grandma's cakes. It was like literally, we were actually, my sister did some deconstructed grandma's cupcakes as a little memory piece, and we all had to decorate our own cupcakes and put, yeah, it was really cool.
That's really nice. And so for anyone who doesn't know, which part of England are you from?
South London.
South London.
I was trying to say that with a posh accent.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry. Okay. So then, can you sort of tell me about the sort of family meals and also sort of growing up, the types of food that you were leaning towards?
So I was a very fussy eater. So I don't know if you really want me on this podcast because when I was a child, I didn't eat. I really struggled to eat anything. I like plain pasta with a bit of cheese on top.
Okay.
And yeah, my mum's kind of thing was like, how am I going to get this child to eat? Like, come on, we can do it. And then one day I discovered taste and I started cooking a bit and then actually added flavour into my life, which I didn't have at all when I was a child. Sunday roasts were, for me, a terror. I would go in and have to sit down and eat. And I was just scared. I was like, how am I going to eat this meal? My dad's rule was kind of like, go to bed or have your dinner. So I would actually go up to him and say, can I go to bed now, please?
Oh, wow. So when you were saying as a kid, was it from like 5, 6, 7 that you were sort of quite fussy?
My mum said I was about 2.5 and I just suddenly shut my mouth and just went no, and then that was it. So just struggled for a very long time, and then I kind of changed the way I was. But my daughter now, I go out of my way to make sure I don't have a fussy child. I don't want me, so she has flavours because I've got 2 stepchildren as well, and they are super fussy. I mean, if the pasta is the wrong shape, I'm in trouble. That kind of thing. I blend everything. I blend everything into a sauce. Don't tell them. Like broccoli, carrots, you name it. But my little one, I really try and get her to eat as many flavours going.
And how old is she?
She's 3 now.
Okay, so and is she quite sort of not? She's the opposite of you in a way, like eating wise.
She's very similar to my character in the sense that we're quite independent, both of us. But food wise, no, she'll give it a good go. And actually, she wouldn't eat tomatoes, and I made it into like a face, like a cucumber with eyes, and then tomato was a nose. And now I keep doing it because I'm so impressed that she eats the tomato.
Oh, nice. Okay, good. That's a good tip. Okay, I like it. So then if we go into sort of your teenage years, I want to understand, so food took its way.
Yeah,
and
it
found its way. But then educational-wise, what were you into? What was your subjects that you loved at school?
Theatre. So I did a lot of theatre when I was younger. I actually did a show in the West End when I was much, much younger.
Which show?
Les Miserables.
Oh, no way!
Yeah.
Okay.
A long time ago. So I kind of went down the theatre route to start off with, and then I hit stage fright central and just stopped.
What age was that?
So I got stage fright around 17. I sung a song and I got like an Elvis lip and my lips started to shake, and I changed the lyrics of the song, and it was just a car crash of a performance, and I just never really got up there again.
But that wasn't in Les Miserables?
No. So I went to a school called Hurtwood House in Homebridge and Mary Dorking, and it's theatre and media. And I mean, I went to school, like, had Emily Blunt in my school and Jack Houston and some racing driver kids, and yeah, it was amazing. It was a brilliant school, and it was eye-opening. You go from 16 to 18, so it's like a sixth form college but private.
Whoa.
And I suddenly went into a class where there was like 7 of us to 1 teacher. And the teacher was like, come and see me afterwards. And then he was like, I think you struggle a bit. And I was like, yes, I do. But no one had said that to me before because I was in a class of like 35 people.
Right.
So I got very into theatre. And then I got glandular fever, and so kind of missed a lot of auditions. And I think my fear just started to creep in then because I kind of missed that whole bit. They do this thing at Hertford House called baggy trousers, and you have to do a really stupid dance in front of the whole school, and it's all about getting rid of your fear and not having any, issues to be silly in front of people. But I missed that, so I think first of all I missed the baggy trousers dance, and then I just felt I just suddenly got a bit nervous and a bit more conscious about who I was, and I got myself locked in this silly world of stage fright.
But before we sort of go into the stage fright part, because I think it's quite important, because I think we all go through that, I want to understand, when you got into that school and you were doing sort of performing arts, was it drama, singing, dancing, or was it the whole lot?
So it was singing and drama. I'm a terrible dancer. I'm all right in a club.
Yeah, no one's watching, so it's fine.
No one's watching. I can stand in a corner. But no, singing and dancing predominantly. So I started. My mum basically said to me, "You need a hobby." And there was an audition for Annie, and she said, "Let's put you forward for it." And we put me forward for it, and I got a part.
Without any training?
No training, no nothing.
Oh wow!
And then I got asked to audition for Les Mis, and then I got that.
And how old were you when you got Les Mis?
I was about 10, 11. So yeah, it was scary. It was really, really scary. And I turned up with like pigtails and a normal dress, and all the other theatre people turned up in jazz shoes and those trousers.
Oh.
And my dad had even got his secretary to put blusher on my cheeks. So I must have walked in and they've been like, who is coming into this audition? So yeah.
No, but that's really cool, because also I think for people who don't know, I mean, in London, the West End shows, especially Les Mis, is a huge productional piece.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So at that age, how, did the major actors or the stage crew and everybody sort of look after you?
So we had a chaperone. I think her name was Sarah. I'll never forget her. She was so sweet. And there were basically like 3 teams. So there were 3 lots of us, and we kind of did it on rotation, and we had to get permission from the council and things like that to miss school. And basically you would be handed over to Sarah, and she would look after us 2 girls, and then we would go out onto the show, and then we would come off anyway because it was early stage of the show, and then be put in a taxi or go home with parents if they're there. My mum worked a lot, so I got a taxi a lot of the time home.
Oh.
And occasionally the taxi driver would take me from McDonald's.
Nice.
Because he became a regular, like take me home. But yeah, it was an unbelievable experience. I will never forget it. My last performance there, they bring like a bunch of flowers out for you and let you actually do a bow, which was just, I'll never forget it. It was magical.
So that's, let's say, age 10, 11,
yes.
Let's say. And then through that time till you sort of 17, you were constantly on stage?
So always just school plays and like little local theatres. So yeah, I played a boy a lot, to be fair. I played Louis in The King and I. I played Oliver in Oliver Twist. So I kind of got sectioned into this playing a boy, and so that was fun. That went down really well at school, as you can imagine.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
well, I can imagine. But look, the other one I wanted to sort of ask you is that the stage fright part. The reason why I'm asking you is because before I became a chef, I studied music, so predominantly percussion and drums and things like this. And so I played in Glastonbury, in gigs and all sorts and things like this, right? So I was also in like heavy metal band, punk rock, you name it, anything drums. I was in, and then the major one that I loved was a samba band, so 40 piece band, and it was like an orchestra, but percussion, samba, right? And each time, I was always super nervous and super afraid, even if I'd played 1,000 times. I was always super nervous. But I want to get your point of view, specifically on that evening when you said you had the Elvis quiver.
Yeah, it was horrendous.
Was there anything that sort of went through your mind beforehand, or were you having a particularly bad day, or was it just all of a sudden this stage fright?
So I used to get, so even now, like I can go into things and get myself so worked up. And then I get on stage and I can feel my heart going like dun 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 dun. And I swear, if I have a lapel mic on, I think that everyone can hear it. It's like Jaws, you know, when you get in the sea,
yes.
you go da da. Like literally, that's what I think is going to happen. With that, I was really scared. And I mean, I went to an amazing school with some amazing people and they were really talented. So I think that was the first. I put a lot of pressure on myself, and going from a local school and doing, you know, your local theatre to suddenly going to that caliber school was definitely, I was putting myself under a challenge there. I was really little, so I had a lot of nicknames at school. One was like, they used to sing instead of Where's Wally song, like Where's Georgie, because I was really little. So I've always been probably like not an underdog, like that kind of that kid that you know you look over and go, who is that? That's always kind of been me. So when I went to this school, a lot of them knew each other and I didn't know anyone. I went from a state school to this amazing private school and hadn't been in that environment before, you know, where everybody is very cliquey and, you know, they looked pristine. Like some of the girls were getting up and getting ready at like 6 o'clock in the morning, you know, they looked amazing. And I would just chuck a t-shirt on and go in. And also all of a sudden I got to wear mufti know, every day of the week. So I was like, what do I wear? So it was just suddenly became a lot more conscious. I think that was the first. And then because I was doing theatre and TV production, I actually loved doing the TV production bit because I liked being behind the camera.
Okay.
And then I realised that actually I think I'm more comfortable here. But I have, in the last year, I have really stepped out of my comfort zone. So I got a business coach and he said, 1, 2, 3, what's your biggest regret? And I said that I stopped singing. So he actually said, well, why? So I started singing lessons again. And for me, I love it. My teacher has stage fright as well, so we always have like a joke. But every year he makes you do a showcase with a live band. So in June, I got up and sung. And I have to say the first song was terrible. I won't be showing that to anybody. But the second one, like I think I put a little bit up on my socials, I was like really proud that I did it. And I kind of, again, let that fear consume me and then go, no, I'm going to do this because I don't want to regret it. So yeah, I'm slowly getting there.
But that's amazing that you did that. And you know, because I understand it sort of shuts everything down and makes you sort of see nothing. Stage fright, it can be...
It's like, it's in your ears, it's in your heart. And then the worst bit about singing is if you are that nervous, you can't hit those notes. Like, it's like your throat, you can't reach your diaphragm because your breathing's all off. So, I mean, singing and stage fright do not go well together.
Right, yeah, of course, 100%. So then let's go into college and university. What did you discover along those lines? Was it you know, PR and that sort of thing that you wanted to do, or was it a completely different path?
So I started doing TV production at Bournemouth University, and sadly I had to change course. I think I went too young. I went 18 and I was the youngest one in the whole course, and don't get me wrong, like it was amazing, but I think I just needed to find some time. My sister got very ill as well in the middle of it all. So when I was 18, she was diagnosed with a brain tumour. I went to university and I just shouldn't have been there. I should have really taken some time away. Anyway, so went on to university and I had a conversation about maybe coming back for the second year, but leaving it a year. I decided I didn't want to do that. So because I was so scared about telling my mum, I went on to clearing and managed to get into Leeds University. So I was like, so I'm not going back to Bournemouth, but I'm going to Leeds. And in Leeds, I did applied culture studies. And I learnt so much that I apply into my career now.
So what does that mean, applied culture studies exactly?
So you could do a mixture. It's not just about writing papers. You could turn it into a photography piece. So it's basically getting creative, which was exactly what I loved doing. So, you know, we looked at the education system and how culture has affected it. We looked at politics and, you know, and what's happened in the line of politics and how it's changed and how it changes different governments. And then we looked at media and how media can have an impact in certain papers and not other papers. So I learnt so much that even today, I always say to people, who's your audience? Because that's literally what I learnt. In the middle of it, on the third year of my dissertation, one of the pieces I did was I made a movie, and I made a movie about life, and I took the song Everybody Hurts, and I filmed my mum going up on the train to my sister's hospice. And it was a really, I was getting emotional. It was a really emotional moment, but it was so raw, and it just showed me how those silent moments, and obviously I asked my mum. My mum didn't I didn't just do it and go, oh, by the way, I've put you to this. But I said to her, like, I'm supposed to film this piece. Obviously there's a lot going on at the moment. So I would never have filmed my sister in you know, how ill she was and stuff. But it was a moment where I realised that less can be more as well. So I apply that into this as well. You know, whatever we do with a client, it's not about just the bling and the fireworks and whatever. Sometimes it's those quiet moments, or that one piece that really resonates. And yeah.
So and this film that you shot, how long was it after you had edited it?
So I think I had to edit it after she passed away. I think that was quite difficult. And I remember having to shout on a giant screen, and all my peers obviously knew what had happened. And I mean, there was not a dry eye at all. Yeah, but it was pretty emotional. I think I put that videotape away and never watched it again. But there was a little boy in a newspaper, and he was in Africa, and it obviously was about starvation. And I just filmed his eyes and then told it through words. And I just think it shows you different ways you can tell a story. But yeah, it definitely, it was one of those things that I created, and it still kind of sits with me today.
But I think the other thing is that, and thank you very much for sharing that. I think it's quite an incredible thing that at such a young age, because if you put it into today's context, that type of film, as raw as it is, as you said, less is more, and it tells a phenomenal, you know, beautiful story in a way, you know, and to have this sort of foresight. That film, I mean, was it based because of of what was happening with your family at that time, or did you have a different way to tell a story?
So because it was culture studies, I wanted to show cultures. So the whole idea was different elements around the world. And obviously I wasn't with the little boy, but there was a story in the newspaper that resonated with me. And what I wanted to do was show different ways that people can hurt. And I finished off actually with a video where my sister, my mum, and my little sister, we all went to Peru. And there's a video of my sister dancing in the restaurant. So I actually finished. So when the music peaked up, I finished with her dancing. And it was kind of like, yeah, we do hurt, but, you know, sometimes there's some amazing moments out of it. And I just think that was the message. It was like this poor little boy with starvation, and, you know, but when you actually zoomed into his eyes, there was such a beauty about those eyes. And it was the same with, you know, we were all hurting so much, but when sadly what happened, we now celebrate her life. Like on her birthday, we celebrate her life. Like we all get together, we all drink Bollinger, you'll be pleased to know, and every year we just celebrate her. That's
phenomenal. That's really phenomenal. And was that part of that video? Was that part of your last dissertation?
So I know my dissertation, I mean, you know what dissertations are, it's like pages and pages and pages. My dissertation, I wrote it about some artists, and about artists that kind of really tell their story, and one was Frida Kahlo. And I admire the woman so much, what she did and how she told her story through art and what she went through. And so I took her and I took Tracy Emin. I'll never forget, I was talking to my sister in the hospice, and because I was, you know, trying to work out my dissertation, and I said Tracy Emin, and Catherine at the time wasn't very well, so she couldn't really talk, but her lips just went like down like that when I said Tracy Emin, because she's not a massive fan. And I just remember like that bit. But yeah, so I wrote about artists in now and in the past, and how they use art to tell their story. So that was my dissertation.
Amazing. And did you get an amazing grade for all of these things?
I got a Desmond. I did. I got a Desmond. But at least I passed. I keep having this dream where I didn't pass.
No, that's the thing. The most important thing is that you did pass. So then I want to understand, you did culture studies. Mm-hmm. And of course, you know, you went through that incredibly challenging and difficult time. So what happened next? You know, in terms of after university, did you go immediately to find a job? Did you move from Leeds? What happened?
So I did go and immediately find a job, but it didn't work out. And then I worked for a guy in the industry, in club restaurant industry. I actually worked with Abracadabra. I don't know if you remember it, on German Street, where you sit at the table and it revolves round and things like that. But actually, after that, I took some time off. I went on a ski holiday and just decided to stay. And I did a ski season. I learned how to make a bed, which was good. But I just really just needed some time off, and I didn't go travelling. I went straight into work. A lot had happened, and I needed that time. And then straight after that, I ended up going into an events company and basically being a proposal writer, so having to create events for them. So anything from British Gas needing to do this event, and what venue should I choose. So I'd go and find a venue, and then I would curate what that event would look like and how we would do it. But at the same time, everybody got a letter for redundancy except for me, who had just started. So I carried on looking, and then a friend of mine owned a venue in Dulwich called Bowbury House. I don't know if you know it. So I became a wedding planner. So I was a wedding planner.
Oh,
yeah, for a year. Probably the most challenging job I've ever had. Mother-in-laws, my goodness me. Not my mother-in-law, but when you are planning a wedding, you have to keep the mother-in-law happy, and I'm always the one stuck with that person.
oh my word.
So I did all of that. But I learned so much in the hospitality industry, from, wetting the glasses, starters, mains, canapes going out, through to service, fixing things like when you've had a power cut and you need to bring a generator in. So my event experience really came from being a wedding planner.
I was going to ask you from that year, because let's be very, very honest, one of the most stressful events in life for people generally. But when you're on the other side, when you're actually doing the planning,
yeah,
what would you say? I mean, and also thank you very much for the second tip about mother-in-laws.
Yeah.
It's a good one. What would you say was your biggest sort of learning or curve from working in that industry?
When it's a wedding, every single person comes in with their dream wedding. They know, when I got engaged, I booked my venue within 4 days. I knew exactly what venue. My husband was like, this is mental. But we agreed to it, so it was fine. And it was COVID, and I was like, I know this venue, this is the one we're going for. So, but every person kind of knows what they want. They've got some kind of dream idea, and it's either the man or the woman, it doesn't matter. But and you have to create that. And if you forget, it sounds on the day, don't forget the signatory books, and don't forget this, and don't forget that. But on the day, it's the moments you're not expecting that really create something special. But they're so worried that, canapes have to be out at this time, and the glass. I remember once the bride and groom's wedding somehow finished early, and we hadn't even wet the champagne glasses. We weren't ready to pour, and people were just arriving, and I was like, go, and we had literally champagne pouring out the glasses and things like that. But actually, what was really nice was then we changed it, and basically they weren't ready, so I sent out the cocktails and the mocktails first. So we ended up having cocktails and mocktails on the lawn first, and then doing the champagne when everyone came in, because that's what we had to do. We had to fix stuff. But there's always moments. I remember some poor woman sat down and a chair broke, and that was quite dramatic. And and it had to be the family member, didn't it? Those
the
kind
mother-in-law.
of things. The mother-in-law. And and I think being a wedding planner for me just taught me so much about just fixing stuff, being prepared, being ready for, I don't know, the sound machine not to be working, or somehow the desserts have got mixed up and the wrong desserts are going out, and the groom's going to have a word, family politics. I can't tell you how many. I had one couple actually move a table outside and sit on the balcony because they were not happy with their top table. They actually asked to go and have their dinner outside on their own.
No.
Yeah. So I've witnessed a lot. Obviously, sometimes you get some guests who are a little bit hyper. I printed out an idiot's guide on how to do a best man speech and edited it for him because he'd lost his speech. So I did some proper J-Lo moments from the movie.
Good times. But then after this sort of the stint and then the wedding planning, what was next?
So maternity cover for. So I've always worked in PR. I've done internships and whatever else, and but this one was I went and did maternity cover for an agency, and I was only supposed to be looking after 2 accounts, and in the end I bought 5 new accounts to them. And then additionally to that, I was also doing events for them. So we worked with Hewlett Packard. So I was planning big printing conferences we did one in the Grand Melia in Tenerife, I think it was. And, it's a 500 people conference, and we were doing everything from itineraries through to menus, we had like 4 days, I think it was, and we had to do, beach party through to sit down dinners, to awards and all of that stuff. And I just, again, had to multitask, fix things, do all kinds of stuff. The PR piece I actually found really easy, because it was really just understanding who your client was, what the message had to go out, and building that relationship. And I think PR 17 years ago was a lot easier than it is now. There wasn't so much of a market, and if you could actually sell it in correctly and make the journalist's life easy, it was easy for them too. So I did that, and then I had this amazing opportunity to set up Katch.
So how did that come about? Because obviously you had those, you did the cover, 5 new companies came in, so you had the experience. You already had experience, obviously, with the culture studies and bringing that to life. And I think what also helped is sort of having the performing arts background as well, because you had to understand people from an incredibly young age, 10, 11 years old, and you're dealing with adults, right, at that age. So all of that was successful, but what was the final push that sort of allowed you to go and form your own company?
So going back to my sister, when she got sick, she had these moments where, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. And I was like, I don't want to have any regrets. That was the one thing. And they say a turning point in your life. That was definitely a turning point in your life. And obviously I don't want to make it about that, but it definitely was. And I wanted to do something in her memory. So I actually named the agency Katch after her. So her nickname was Katch. And I made it pink because at her funeral she wanted everyone to wear crazy colours of pink. So even my creative director and I are having fights over branding at the moment, because he keeps trying to lighten the pink, and I'm like, no, you're not going to do that. But yeah, and it was a moment, and I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I did it. I can't believe we're 15 years old. It's mad.
I mean, I was going to say, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
15 years, not an easy feat. But I want to understand, so this started in 2010, right? So in 2010, can you sort of tell me, or,
I think it's 2011, maybe no, it is 2010.
Can you explain to me the landscape of PR back then?
So we hired an agency as a family. We have an alternative cancer charity, and I was really upset with the way they handled it. And we were doing an event opposite Parliament in the UK to try and teach Parliament that we need to look into alternative treatments, not just traditional medicine. Nothing against traditional medicine, totally believe in it, but wanted to have that element too. And the PR of the agency that they hired was very expensive, very well known. And they sent an intern to handle TV stations and whatever else, and just wasn't versed in, what my family had raised money and tried to do to help and make a difference. So I kind of was already a bit annoyed about that. I had done an internship with another PR agency where, they're in hair and makeup and getting dolled up while we're all backstage dealing with some heavy duty fashion designers shouting at us and making everyone cry.
Right.
And I was like, that's not what I want to be either. So when I launched the agency, and I still have this, if I expect you to put the bins out, I will put the bins out too. That is our absolute saying. I will pack a goodie bag, and it doesn't matter if I've had the agency for 15 years. So I knew I wanted to create something that was real, that people would enjoy coming, and it wasn't an unfair thing. That's all I wanted to create. I thought it was going to be a tiny little boutique agency in London. I had no idea. Someone said to me, I just thought I was going to have a few little clients and it'll all be great and it'll be doing exactly what I was doing when I was doing the maternity cover. But it just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
So tell me, first of all, so when you started, so let's say 2010, where was your office?
Okay, so I went too big too quickly, 100%. I got way too carried away. So we took an office in Victoria. You come out of Victoria Station and go straight into a working space there. Way too big. Should not have gone that big, but landed a load of clients, was okay with that, but had no concept of cash flow because obviously I've worked for everyone else. I've never had to deal with it. And normally people are giving me money like, oh, here's a budget of this much to do this event. So suddenly I'm like, oh, I've got to pay people and I've got to do this and I've got to work out national insurance. So I did have a moment where I had to shrink back down again and just have a real reality check with myself. Anyway, so that started, and then it was really bizarre, but I worked with Russian's Next Top Model, and I created a fashion piece. So basically, I love fashion designers. I think they're amazing. And first season designers really struggle in the industry because they need feedback and they need to know if their collection's going somewhere. Second and third season designers have a little bit more of a chance.
Okay.
So I created a product with Fashion TV, but London Fashion TV, where we put a first and second and a third season designer on the catwalk together. They shared the costs of the models. They shared all of the costs. It made it a cost-effective solution. We worked with Martin from Vauxhall Fashion Scout, and we would put them down the runway, and then we'd get them in obviously into Vogue and all of that, but we'd also get feedback from buyers for them, and they would have a great start of their career. So that's basically what we created. Because of that, I then got approached by Russian's Next Top Model, basically to put some of the models in the catwalk show. So I learned quite a lot about TV and elements of Russia. And then because of that, somehow I got recommended to Barclays Wealth for a project that was going into Russia. So that was my next client. So we ended up sponsoring IMG Moscow Fashion Week. So off I went to Moscow. And while I was there, I had just started working with Cavalli Cafe and Cavalli here, and they were looking to have a franchise agreement. So I got hosted by some very important people in Russia. So that was kind of the start of it all. But how I ended up here was Formula One. So I was working with Renault Lotus, who wanted to do their own after events. And we were working with a brand called The Box London, who were doing the pop-up. And I bumped into the owners of Cirque du Soleil. And they said, well, hang on a second, if you're working with them, why are you not working with Cirque? And I said, yeah, but I'm not sure about working with you lot in the UK. I'm not sure if I'm going to get an inshallah. We might pay you later or whatever. Yeah. And he said, well, actually, I'm franchising to Dubai and I need someone to help me project manage it. Would you be interested? So that's how it all started. And then I started working with a franchisee here and was writing to their marketing team, and they just were not answering. Like, they just were not coming back to me. And I was getting really frustrated. So I wrote to the owner and said, if I were you, I'd fire your marketing team. Because I like to do those things and, like, you know, be blunt. And that's what happened. And then they sent me a flight and I came over and then built the agency from there.
And what year was that?
2011.
So that's quite quick,
it was
Georgie.
Really quick.
Because you've got 2010, you set up in London, then 2011 you came here.
Mm.
And just from my understanding, you'd had enough of staff and that sort of thing in the office to leave London running on its own?
So, no, actually, my little sister, Steph, she came and ran London and did an amazing job. I mean, absolutely smashed it. Like,
what a legend.
We did Canada Day in Trafalgar Square.
Wow.
She was just brilliant. And she came from an ad background. So her kind of process and she's very organised, which I think is what Katch London needed. So she was very good at that bit.
So at that time then, 2010, boxed off. 2011, you came to Dubai. And then how was the landscape of PR back then? In Dubai.
First of all, I wanted an agency in Dubai because I couldn't believe how easy it was then. You know, like for me, if you had the right story, there wasn't a huge amount of agencies here. We kind of got bracketed into nightclubs to start off with, to be honest, and then we moved into restaurants, and then slowly we got hotels, and then the rest is history. But yeah, there were a few agencies out there, but there weren't that many. That there was a huge amount of competition, and your reputation slowly gets bigger and bigger. I actually tried to open in Lebanon as well, but we had a slight, obviously with the politics and things like that were happening in Lebanon, it was very hard to keep clients. But I did go on a journey again because I love fashion. I wanted to launch the Mandala Mod, and I wanted fashion designers to be recognised for who they were and not have to leave Lebanon to get discovered. So I actually approached Elie Saab and asked him, and he was very interested to do it. And we even got as far as sitting down with Mercedes-Benz to sponsor the event. But because obviously what happened in the country, it just became a little bit more difficult. But yeah, I got to work with some amazing designers.
Because I also want to understand from your perspective, what are the sort of misconceptions about PR? Because obviously a lot of people have different ideas of what is PR, so on and so forth. But from your words, from your perspective, what are the biggest misconceptions, would you say?
Well, Ab Fab didn't do us any favours, did it? So I think that's the first thing. And I think the reality TV series you see in the UK coming out that have that piece still don't massively help us out. PR, what it was, where, you did send a press release out, or, you put a picture out and you got this coverage. It's very different now. It's very experiential. I call it experiential. It needs to be integrated from embedding into a community through to influencers. PR, I'm doing a lot of stuff at the moment on surveys and data and trying to put authority into brands as well. Brand partnerships is obviously a huge piece, which look how many beach clubs are popping up in partnership with fashion brands now. Like, that's a massive piece now.
But is that sort of quite common now? I mean, collaborations more than ever?
I think it's a no-brainer. If a collaboration has a set community or audience following them, and your brand wants to have that audience, and then this brand over here would like to have association with your prestigious brand, why not? Because all you're doing is combining the communities and putting your brand out further. And I think there's some great ones. I wrote a piece about Sophia Webster and Waitrose. What a fantastic collaboration. Like, it's brilliant. Shoes and your everyday bag in Waitrose, and it brings fashion and stuff into it. It's clever.
But then if we bring sort of F&B into the picture, right?
Which we should.
Then what's the difference? I mean, it sounds like a really stupid question, but what's the difference then in terms of PR in the UK with restaurants compared to what we have in this market in the Middle East?
Well, I think you can answer that question. In the back of your kitchens in London, we used to do you cards which showed you all the critics that would come in, so the waiters and waitresses would recognise them, and we would make sure that there was a flawless service. And yeah,
100%.
But we don't have it here, do we?
No.
There we go. That's the answer.
Yeah, because I wanted to say, the sort of picture used to see, again, 2010, 2011, is very much that the PR girls would be super glamorous, opening champagne, and they would just come to the openings and almost swan around, if you like. But now it's not that at all. I mean, PR agencies, I'm not sure what it's like in London now, so you could tell me a bit more, but here it is a constant almost fight to make sure that you are at the forefront, not just as an agency, but also for the client. Would you say that's correct?
I say it all the time about here. It's so transitional here. There has to be a balance between education and re-education, and that's the biggest problem you've got. Is if you're launching a brunch, there's another brunch over there, but then new people are arriving in Dubai or Abu Dhabi and need to know about that brunch. So you constantly got to keep that listings out. You've got to keep those reviews out. You've got to keep what the influencers are going. You also need those like 3 big brand campaigns that remind people to go to your restaurant. It's very hard, and even if you do the most amazing job, it doesn't mean that restaurant's going to work. The build could be slightly wrong, or the menu's not right. I work with Greg Malouf, and I loved working with him. I got his food, but when we launched his first ever restaurant over here, it was contemporary Middle Eastern, and there was so much education to do. People didn't understand why his kidney was different to what people are used to. And that's the thing. It depends who your audience is and who you're talking to.
And with Greg's restaurant. So was that Clay or was that Zahira?
No, it was Clay. So, but we also took Greg. We took him to the W in Doha, and we popped up a Ramadan tent with him, which went very, very well. But no, he was a very good friend. Like, I went on a journey with him, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we all love, and Greg, and he was absolutely amazing.
My heart. Yeah.
He was on the show, and when he came on the show, and he agreed.
Which I'm surprised that he hates being on camera.
He was just an absolute gent, and an absolute legend, and I still have all his books, and I really look up to him a lot. The reason being is because I have this thing here that you see, and I talk about it all the time on the podcast, and it's really boring. You have British, modern British, modern French, modern Spanish. Why don't we have modern Middle Eastern? And he was the godfather.
He was
of that, of putting that movement through, and a lot of people have started to do it now, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Really. But then the other one I wanted to ask you and sort of pick your brains, and from a very sort of basic perspective, for people who really don't understand what a PR agency do. Can you just sort of explain it in the terms so that people really sort of understand it?
Okay, so from a traditional side, it's putting you into media, online, print, with influencers, things like that. But actually, as I said, it's very different now. It's about getting your brand out there. So that, as I said, that could be putting you on a podcast. That could be doing a brand alignment. So we work with Rove Hotels, for instance. So Rove, Nikon, we created a Nikon studio. We do a lot of different things with Nikon. If an influencer comes in, they get given a camera and they go and discover off the beaten track Dubai. We've been with them now, I think, for almost 4 or 5 years. And it really is about not just putting out PR. So during COVID, though, we turned their rooms into meeting rooms. So you could hire a bedroom and get out of the house and go and stay there and work.
Brilliant.
And it worked as a campaign.
Brilliant.
So that was our job, is to pivot or change or reinvent the wheel. That's what PR is. No, we just obviously did the global restaurant investment for him. My job is to go to that conference and to understand what were the key moments that came out of there. And there were some amazing things mentioned, some that I had absolutely no idea, and we'll make sure that's obviously communicated in the messaging.
So if anybody, whether they were small, big company, so on and so forth, what's the way or the best way for them to sort of approach a company like yours?
Well, first of all, I think it's massively down to relationship now. I really do. Like, do you get on with the agency? Do they get your brand? And also, are you willing to listen to what the agency's ideas are? You're only as good as your last client, is my saying to everybody, to my team, everybody. And I think client retention is a massive piece that agency is good. I've really built loyalty with my staff. So, there's a lot of people there who've been there for a very long time. And I think that's also very important, because you want to work with someone and get used to someone and understand that. And I think it's really like, what do you need? It depends what brand you're bringing in, but what do you need to do to get that audience, to get those sales, to get that awareness? And is that agency able to do it for you?
But then how do you do that? How are you able to sort of, because the reason why I'm asking you is because specifically, I think, again, tell me if I'm wrong, in this market, there's a lot of individuals who brand themselves, let's say, right? Whether it's in the fashion, food, crypto, whatever, all of this sort of, I want to ask you, and somebody with your experience, have you ever had sort of people come up to you saying, look, I'm amazing, I want to do this, this, and this, and then for you to just sort of reject them based on their reputation? I
think your relationship with your clients like dating. You walk in and you go, okay, I understand you. I think I know what you want. I'd be happy to have a relationship with you, because that's what it is. Or you can have, I've had clients before come in and I'd be like, I am nowhere going near that person. I don't want to work with them. They're going to give my staff a headache. I'm going to have a few people probably quit because of how rude they are. And you have to make the right call.
And how because I have to say, people are extremely persistent, if they want to work with you. So it's about that relationship and letting them down in a nice way, I suppose.
I think if someone comes in and you say, this is the strategy to launch you, or this is the strategy... Look, a lot of brands we've had to do work with have launched already into the market and have launched themselves not so well. And we now need to reintroduce them to the market. And we've only got one chance of this. Because let's be honest, food and beverage here, only the icons have a really good long lifespan. It's some restaurants normally change brand within 2 years because of how much competition there is, or I don't know, operationally something's changed or whatever. So if I have a restaurant, for instance, and it's been launched totally wrong, you don't understand what the cuisine is, and you don't understand the environment you're going to get or what you're going to get when you go to that restaurant, I now have to clean that messaging up. And when it's out there in the internet already and the reviews have been done and whatever else, it's a hell of a job. So we either get it right, otherwise I'm going to get it wrong too, they're going to get it wrong, and they're going to be closing their restaurant down. So it comes down to honesty. So if that chef or that operator or that owner comes in and says, what do you think? And we say, this is the way we think we should do it. And it's not just coming from me, it's coming from the food and beverage team of my agency. And they still don't think that's right, then we're definitely not a right fit. So.
But then, I mean, I think what I want to also pop into my head is that reintroduction part. I think this is really cool, right? Yeah. And
well, you work for a lot of restaurants. We have to do a lot of reintroduction.
Well, that's the thing is that like the reason why I laugh is because you're absolutely right. And I'm just trying to... I don't want to word this carefully. I'll be very honest. Owners and, huge, let's say, F&B directors and operators, they feel that they know best because it's a personal thing, rather than thinking what's best for the business and consulting the right PR team who have extensive F&B opening background and experience in the market.
Yes.
So the reason why I'm saying that is because I've been involved in a lot of openings and it's been rushed. The PR team have not been the correct PR team. They're amazing at fashion, but have never done F&B.
Yeah, so don't understand the menu.
Right.
Yeah.
So they don't understand the menu. They don't understand the concept. They're just like, no, it's... And then, surprise, surprise, 8 weeks, 12 weeks into the project, we have to cut them and restart again. So then, and you don't need to give me examples, but when you're reintroducing a brand into the market, what are the key pillars that you measure and then go and attack?
So first of all, we have to have a new offering. So we have to sit down with the chef or the operation team and have a new offering. It could be a new tasting menu, it could be something, but we can't just go back out with the same story. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we go to the media and we ask them what do they understand of the brand. Because and especially Arabic media, not enough people do this. So we have a big Arabic team. So so sometimes we get from the Arabic team, I've never heard of it, I haven't even been. So that's a really interesting one. So then we understand there's a gap there and we can do a big piece around the Arabic side. But the main thing is a lot of people I know I've said this quite, you've seen this, I'm very open about this. You can do the massive launch like we did with Clay. Poor old Greg, I dragged him out of the kitchen and made him stand with some Victoria's Secret models and things like that. And I mean, that was the only way to get him out of the kitchen was the Victoria's Secret models. But does Greg know? But literally, no, we did not fill that restaurant afterwards because of the food. And actually, if I'd be really honest, at the time of Clay, we were so busy with celebrity, and there was just so much going on. I mean, every day someone was adding another celebrity to that guest list. Like we had teams picking up people from airports and bringing them in and then organising their itineraries and bringing them from hotel. I had a photographer in the room and he was then, there was a guy on the computer behind the DJ stand uploading the photos globally and sending the stories out there and then. Like that's how we ran it. It was like, but it all became about that. It all became about, here's Rick Brosnan talking to Paris Hilton and this and that. And it didn't become about how cool Greg was and as amazing his food was.
So it was more about the celebrity piece, right?
Yeah. And I think I've learned from that. And, you know, I've done some huge launches and some big names. But ultimately, yes, it gets the international piece that you want. Oh, I've got to go there because so-and-so was there. However, here, if you want that ongoing community coming in and dining in your venue, it's got to be about the food. When you finish work and you say, where should we go and eat tonight? It's got to be, I'd quite like to go and I'd fancy like to try there. Or if it's a birthday, where should we go for our birthday brunch? I'd like to try this brunch because I've read about it, but I haven't done it. Are you up for it? That's what it needs to be. Not, because Paris Hilton was there.
And do you think now, when it comes to food, do you think it's almost embedded in this culture in the Middle East about how especially what you just said about community, is that much bigger than what it is in the UK?
I actually think after COVID, we eat more locally. I think the pubs have really stepped up with what they do in the UK. I think I very rarely go into London on the weekend to have dinner. Like I don't need to do it. I live on the outskirts and there's some amazing restaurants to choose from there. Here, I think it's almost like a treat, you know? So like on the weekend, we might go, let's go here as friends. But because of the Shakeside Road, we will choose maybe not certain areas now. But I would say I live in the marina. So on an evening in the marina, I would choose something a little bit more local.
So, and would it be more brand based or would it be more chef led?
Food led. Because honestly, like, I live next to Grosvenor House and I love Gary Rhodes' restaurant. I do. It's always the same. My parents stay in the Grosvenor every single time they come in November, and obviously Gary's son runs it and he's very hands-on and he's brilliant with my daughter and I love it. But I don't go there because it was Gary Rhodes' restaurant. I go there because I know I can trust the food. I know they're going to absolutely smash it trying to feed a 3-year-old for me, and I get to eat as well, and they do a great wine, you know, so that's why I choose it. And it's on my doorstep, like I can walk there in 5 minutes. I don't have to get in a taxi.
Yeah, but that's really interesting because also, I mean, the amount of openings and menu launches and this and that, I mean, it's relentless, especially around this time of year, as I'm sure you're more than aware. But then if it comes to onboarding of a new client, so let's just say, as an example, I'm coming to Katch, I'll speak to you or your team and say, look, I want you to run my account. What other sort of questions or how do you onboard a new client?
Well, first of all, let's take Italian, because there's a lot of Italian restaurants. What's making your Italian food different? What's our message? I know it's a little piece of Italy and it's this and that, but what area is it from? How are you sourcing your ingredients? Like, what is the story we're telling? A lot of owners sometimes don't also want to profile the chef because they want to know they've got the chef's loyalty. That's the other one. So I do have a lot of times where a restaurant will say to me, I don't want to profile my chef. I'm not ready to do that. So then I have to sell a restaurant without profiling chef. So it has to come down to ingredients, the menu, and the offering inside the restaurant rather than the chef.
But when you're telling me that, what's really interesting is that the story piece, for me, from a PR perspective, sounds like it's almost the top priority. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. When you think I'm going to go for a bowl of pasta tonight, you're going to go. I'm not going to choose it because it's got. I might choose it if it's on a weekend because it's got a Michelin or it's got this or it's that. But ultimately, I want to know that when I'm going to have that bowl of pasta, it's going to taste brilliant because I've gone out tonight to eat it. And let's be honest, everything can get delivered to your door in Dubai. So I want when I go out and eat, I want to eat really, really well and enjoy myself. I'm a creature of habit as well. If I find something really good, I stick to it.
The other one I wanted to ask is because, you know, from a restaurateur's and owner's or a chef's ego, when you are advising a new client, again, brilliant example, if we stick to Italian, and then you mention this, what makes you different, and then the chef or the restaurateur say, well, it's the aged Parmesan, which is 24 years old. I get it from my grandmother.
The truffle.
Yeah, the grandmother's garden, blah, blah, blah. And then you say, well, actually, 7 other restaurants within 10 or a 5-kilometer radius have the same story. They have the same menu. So that doesn't wash. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
How are those conversations? Because, you know, especially Italian chefs, quite fiery. Same with owners, so on and so forth. So do they listen to that advice?
I think it depends if it's a restaurant opening that's been in the market already. So say it's a group and they are well versed in that, to someone who's arriving off a plane and opening their concept. And that's when you have difficult conversations.
Right.
Because you have to say, well, hang on, yeah, you're right. Your menu's exactly the same as this. You're using the same tagline and you're saying you're a piece of Italy, which, let's be honest, every Italian restaurant opens and says they're a piece of Italy. It's got to come on the merit of why you're different. And it could be the drinks menu. It could be just one dish that you do differently. It could be anything.
Because I just think it's such a vast landscape of, especially here, smaller population, and then when it comes to restaurants, F&B and all of that kind of stuff, it's how do you keep navigating the story to make sure it stays fresh in people's minds? Because I never thought about that, what you said. You've got to educate and then re-educate. So how do your team captivate all of those stories at the same time?
Well, luckily, I've got a really big team. So what we do is we write like a quarterly strategy, and we always audit what is going on around. So we really want to understand what our competitors are doing, what have they done that's absolutely smashed it out of the park, and what have they done that's not so good. And then we learn from it. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, everything changing now is changing because it evolves. And if you don't look at the past and the present and where it's going as a future, you're not going to have the right strategy. And I think globally as well, that's what I love about Griff, is globally you look at, wow, what a great concept that they've just launched here. That could work here. I love the way he launched it or she launched it. And I think we can apply that. Ideas come from looking at what other people do as well.
I think that's really interesting, because I never thought that you'd also sort of, but because I'm not in the game, but to sort of look at what other partners are doing, what they've really done incredibly well, to what they've not done so well. But so when you critique your teams within the market per se, what are the top 3 things that they're not doing well, would you say, compared to what they are doing right?
Well, so we'll always do things like a media audit, for instance, and look at what kind of coverage is coming out and what are the messaging. So we had one brand, it was a hotel brand, and they had a membership part to them, but they were actually open to the public, and the hotel was being perceived as members only. But when you went back and looked at the launch press release, and you looked at the reviews, and you looked at the social media comments and what the influencers were saying, everyone thought it was membership only. No wonder people weren't coming into the hotel. So from that, we were able to say, okay, this is what we need to do. But it always comes, the first bit I would always say, when sometimes I look at things and think that messaging is off, or it's been written by AI. So I saw a press release go out from another agency the other week, and I was like, it's been written by AI. There's not one bit of natural, I always say, like a bit of vulnerability in the release. If this is a homegrown brand, you need to see that. And it was just so written in a way which was like, there was nothing special about it. And when a journalist receiving 62 press releases a day, are they going to read it?
But with those press releases now, specifically for your company, and also with AI in the picture, because it's difficult to push it out of the way. How do you send a great press release? So, for example, if I said to you, look, Georgie, I need you to write a press release about the podcast, as an example. Is it directly written by you? Is it by the team? And how do you sort of weave the story into that release?
So we have, in our team, we have the PR team, we have an Arabic team, which will probably write a release totally different to the English release. It's not just a direct translation, especially if it was a Middle Eastern cuisine, we would probably tell our own story. And then we obviously have the PR team and we have the copywriters. So what would happen is the PR team would come up with the angles, and then they would sit down and they would brief the copywriting team in. And then they would then start to write the story with obviously the PR's team's feedback. And then it will go into the different translation teams to see. So, for instance, on the Arabic side, certain words might need to be changed, or this will resonate more with this audience. So this is what we're going to do.
And then after it's written, who triple checks it?
So obviously the team check it, and then the client signs it off. Never send anything out without a client sign off. Any agency out there, never send a press release without your client sign off. So it gets signed off and then it goes out.
Okay, all right. So then after that release is sent, how do you measure its success?
I mean, we get lots of coverage. That's so obviously coverage is that piece, but I measure success on, I just got 8 bookings. Right. You know, I really do. We had an influencer go out to one of our properties and we saw bookings come off the back of it. And I was like, what a great influencer. That for me.
Right.
Like, listen, when it's a restaurant, it's open 7 days a week. It's open lunch, you know, breakfast, lunch and dinner sometimes. I'm not saying you're going to have bums on seats every single day. But if I can get more people in there because of the work I've done, then I've done my job.
Mm. So then talking about doing your job.
Trying to.
The Katch sort of client, you know, portfolio is F&B, hotel, live events, cars. It's endless. So then within your team, I wanted to ask you, do you have sort of specific people who manage the sort of F&B, car, so on and so forth? And how do you pick them?
Trial and error. So I'm always like, again, it's like dating. So it's about matching people up with the right people. So we have different teams and we'll look at it and say, you know what, that person's a better fit for that client. So it's not, yes, we've got teams that are expertise in cars or aviation. And then we have teams that are really good at hotel and restaurant. But then we might have a big corporate piece that comes in. And actually it turns out that one of the team on aviation was brilliant with the corporate profiling. So we bring them in to help and support.
Right.
We also have big team meetings on a Monday where they all share their knowledge. Oh, guess what? It's so-and-so's birthday, or Condé Nast is doing a piece on this. You know, so they share their knowledge. We're one big family. We have a huge group. I mean, it lights up like a Christmas tree all day long. But it's always like, oh, so-and-so's in, or does anyone want this influencer? They want to go for dinner, like day in, day out.
Love that. And obviously you sit on the top of that.
Try to.
Well,
no, I have got an amazing team. I've got partners and I've got other directors as well who are on for partnerships too, and you know they're amazing.
But then one of the biggest, and I cannot ignore talking about this, you were involved in one of the biggest openings within the Middle East, which is Atlantis The Royal.
Yes, I was.
So huge brand. Huge opening. It was celebs galore.
Yes.
Of course. How were you able to sort of manage that locally? And the reason why I'm asking from an F&B perspective and also out of curiosity is you didn't just have a local crowd.
No,
it was wildly international when it came to press, when it came to media, writers, celebs, chefs, you name it, everybody was there. How was that experience?
Well, so it's definitely not just Katch. They had a huge team. So we were the GCC agency. So we handled all of the influencers, influential people, and the media. I think we had a total of 140 that we handled just ourselves. We had a different slot on the blue carpet that we would manage, you know, whichever celebrities came out and when they took their photos. We handled everything from agendas, the glam, the different hotel rooms. We had a team that were fully on site for those 5 days. We stayed in the Sofitel next door. And yeah, I mean, I lost my voice after that event. Not from singing, from working so hard with the team. Like, we were up late. We had to capture every post, every comment, everything. Just net catch, absolutely everything. But if you don't take that moment and make it what it is, then you lose it. And I learned that from Clay. If you don't get those pictures out then and there, you cannot control the story.
Right. So then if we dig a little bit deeper into that, you had a team of how many for that event?
I think there was about 12 of us.
Okay. And each...
Only because of security clearance, we couldn't get any more, because you've got to imagine, like, I think there was like 22 agencies, and actually I just had Amelie, so I was the only one security cleared not to stay in the hotel and be able to come in on a daily basis, because I was still at home feeding my child. So it was a juggle.
Okay, so let's put that into context. So you had your team of 12, right? You just had your beautiful baby.
Yes.
And you were still feeding her and doing this event.
Yeah.
So that's mental.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. And so on top of being a mum with a baby, which is like a hardcore full-time job.
And doing a Bridget Jones, like, hold your tummy in, look glamorous for this event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was challenging in itself.
Yeah.
The whole period around the opening was from start to finish how many days?
I mean, it was when we did the big party on, I think it was the Saturday, but then there was obviously the big kind of first night on the Friday, and then Sunday was the fashion event that the Bong did as well. So I think we went in on Tuesday.
Right.
I think we went in but I mean, the build up was massive because we only had a certain amount of time to do the invites. We had to poke, like, obviously some of it was postal, some of it was flight. Like, I mean, there was just so much, and everyone was calling me. Like, I had people calling me I've not spoken to in 7 years, being like, "Hi, how are you?" And I was like, "I cannot get you in to see Beyonce. Like, please." Leave me alone. Like, it was, honestly, it was relentless. It was like, I remember with Clay as well, the same thing happened. It was like, please leave me alone. I can't get you in. It's just one of those things, like, I wish I could create those moments for my friends or do whatever, but I can't. And I wouldn't do that to a client, and I wouldn't, take the mick.
And
like
it's
that.
work.
And it's work. And also, I'm with work. Like, when everyone's like, how glamorous was it? I was like, I did so many steps. I mean, if I'd had that watch thing on, you would have been like, Georgie, I can't believe how many steps you did. I don't actually even think I got to see her because I was just so busy running around and, post-press releases going out, things had to be signed off. We were straight back in the media room. We were being briefed in for the next day. It's crazy.
And would you say, so let's say, so you started on the Tuesday. Mm-hmm. When it started kicking off and so they started to arrive, so was it like a 12, 18-hour day?
Oh, yeah, at least that. It was like an F1 again. It was crazy. Like, the guys weren't going to bed till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. There was an issue with glam with one of the influencers, and we had to move something around. And obviously, there were other incidents which I won't talk about where we had to kind of fix problems quite quickly. And yeah, it was just very constant. The best bit was, on the walkie-talkie, people would be like, go and get the girl in the gold dress. And I walked into a room in the drinks reception bit to go and get her ready to come back to the carpet. And I was like, there's 18 people in here with gold dresses. Which one? They're like, brown hair. I was like, okay. And it was like eliminating, who am I getting from the room to take to the carpet?
Oh, wow.
Honestly, there were so many of those moments. Yeah. I had a TV crew outside. There was something wrong with security. One of us had to run. I had to run down that driveway so many times. I can't tell you. We used to walk from Sofitel to the hotel every morning as well. It's crazy.
But despite all of the challenges,
I'm very proud we got to do it.
I mean, what an incredible thing to do, to be part of and get that done. Because, I mean, I'm sure you know, but I couldn't name any of the other PR agencies that were involved. For me, the only agency I knew that was super present was yours.
Oh, thank you.
Honestly. But phenomenal. But the other question, which is on everybody's lips when it comes to chefs and F&B, and it's very controversial, the role of influencers in restaurants, PR and F&B, because I'm sure you're aware there is a huge, backlash, of influencers. What do they do? Are they worth it? Who are they? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to get your take and also, advice on the right type of food influencer.
Again, I think it comes down to what restaurant it is. If it's real, like, food, course, tasting menu, then it needs to be a really, really strong food influencer who might even potentially be a judge for, 50 best or something like that. If it's a restaurant that's got a vibe and has got good food but wants to have more the party afterwards, then there are certain influencers you're going to have to work with who might not get that they're only getting, a starter, main and dessert and 2 glasses of wine and will kick off about it. And I think that's where it comes down to. It is such a hard, I cannot tell you, it is such a hard juggle. I actually had an influencer removed from a hotel and everyone's like, I can't believe you've done it, George. But they went in and they really took the mick. Like,
as in the influencer?
Yeah, they really took the mick. They were like, to the point where the client's messaging me and she's really upset. And I said, okay, this is getting silly. So I actually called. So the influencer was an influencer and was writing for an online publication. So I called the online publication. The publication didn't even know about this influencer. So you have to ask the questions. You have to make sure it's fine. To be honest, it's our fault. It was a last minute job. It came in through the hotel. We should have done more due diligence anyway. And that's why I handled it the way I handled it.
Right.
And I think that's what you have to call it. Like, if an influencer is coming and is ordering champagne and doing this and doing that, and I think from an operations side, they don't know if they can say no. They don't want to upset you. Don't want to get in trouble. But that's where it's our job to preempt that. So we normally have, okay, they're coming for dinner. This is what you're going to get. This is all you're going to get. If you want more, this is what's going to happen. We host press trips around the world on a monthly basis, and we have to dictate exactly what they're going to get. Otherwise, they're going to go to that restaurant and they're going to order that extra cocktail, and are going to have an upset client, even after I spent hours getting them on this press trip, getting them to do the review, and it's going to leave a bad taste in both people's mouths.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think because for me, there are I've dealt with 2 very different types of influencers, right? So you've got the critic, the writer, the journo.
They're the scary ones.
Right. But they are scary, but they are very much like chefs in the way that if you tell them you're going to have brown toast, it has to be brown toast, not yellow, not white. Tell them straightforward and they're super cool, right? But then if you, on the other side, the sort of influencer that I think gets the worst rep for specific reasons are the ones that are dolled up, let's say, and have absolutely no interest in the food whatsoever, and it's pure wet sales,
like
and they're just and they're not interested in the chef, in the food, in the restaurant at all. And then that's where I think PR agencies fall down because they haven't sent you the right type of influencer. But as you said, it's great to know that an influencer can actually get you bookings immediately.
They can, but that's the thing. So, I hate a selfie stick. I cannot stand it. And the worst thing is when I'm actually in the restaurant and I see one of the influencers, they're like, "Come on," and I'm like, "No, put that thing away." But It really depends on who we're talking to and what you want to achieve. If you've got a venue that's not doing so well and it's got a great vibe, that influencer might tell the right story. Look, there are some joke influencers out there. Let's be honest. They've set up an online site and they're this type of influencer and their following is absolutely rubbish and they're making out that they're massive. And there's also the blaggers. I want a free holiday, I want a free table, or I want this. But it's our job to work that one out.
So you guys do the due diligence anyways.
Yes, we have a database that we run numbers through. The only reason with that hotel we didn't was because first of all, it didn't come from this country, it came from another country. And second of all, it was like a 24-hour thing. So it was so last minute. But normally, like if it's a hotel request, it will take about a month anyway, between, sign off and whatever else. Restaurants, when you guys contract us, you say, I want to have this many influencers in my restaurant on a monthly basis. So our job is to get that many influencers. Now, the problem is there's only a few foodie influencers and bless them, they're being sent everywhere. So you're going to have to go for other influencers, and it's about getting the right influencers. And I can see why it annoys you, because they're not there going, wow, chef, this meat is amazing. They're going, look at my hair and I'm wearing this dress tonight. And I get that, and it must annoy you. It would annoy me. But at the same time, they do sell for you as well.
Can I ask you, is that the same problem in a market like London?
Oh, massively. Like, absolutely massively, yeah. And there's more and more influencers coming through, you know, TikTok and the Gen Zs and the Love Islands and all of this stuff is like massively. It's a worldwide problem. It's not just here.
Right, okay.
The only thing is a lot of the influencers have moved here, but that's, you know, but it's a worldwide problem. You've got it in the US. I mean, you've got it in Germany. We're talking about a project in Berlin today, and you know, one of the reviews came in because of an influencer, and basically, well, this is not us as a client, but another client. But you could see that the influencer was the problem in the way they'd chosen the influencer. So it's definitely not just here.
That's really interesting to know, because a lot of people would have thought it was just that culture here. But in a way, I'm happy that it happens globally.
Saudi influencers, wait till you're doing some more work in Saudi. It's a totally different kettle of fish. India was interesting, actually. I had one Indian influencer come over here for Expo, and her manager was her cousin. So the deal we had and the payment
Her
that was
manager was her cousin. Ugh.
And so I have no idea, but her contract and what she signed and what she paid for had not been gone down the chain. So I've got this influencer who's been paid to do something, to post and do these things, hasn't done it. So I went up to her in the restaurant and said, I've got every single influencer who's posted for this night and you still haven't posted. And she was like, sorry, who are you? And I was like, you need to do it now. So I am not the most liked person, I will admit, but if I've contracted you to do something, you need to do it.
Fair enough. Straightforward. But then, if I talk about the specific role of chefs in PR, and I'm not talking about the Gordon Ramsays of the world, I'm talking about homegrown heroes.
Yeah.
Whether they are in the UK, Saudi, or in the UAE. I would like to know from your perspective what chefs are doing, let's say, wrong if they want to have PR, and what could they be doing better in order to get themselves out there?
So over the years, I have looked after obviously a lot of chefs, and I've worked with ones that have franchised brands into the country. And it was straight up, you've got to keep 3 dishes on your menu. I will do an appearance if you pay me this. And there was no actual belief or want to push that brand through. And I think that's what they did wrong. Absolutely. Like, there was no genuine, I believe in this brand. It was, I'm going to take the money and do what I do.
Oh, that's really sad.
Yeah, it was really sad, and it was really frustrating as well, because you've got there was no storytelling. And then you've got other brands, you've got other chefs who are just so passionate. You know, like I remember meeting Chef Izu in London. He was opening a restaurant, and he talked to me for 15 minutes about a tomato, and about how amazing a tomato and how it can taste differently and how you can prepare it and how you can cut it. And just the love for this tomato made me go, oh, wow, I want to try it in all these different ways. You know, he did it really well. We talked about Greg, but even Troy, just the way Troy loves food and will talk about food, you know, the passion is just there. Tom, I met Tom years ago, and Tom is one of these guys who will just try something so different. And I actually tried to match him up with a barman who made duck-infused whiskey, because he was the type of person who they would work really well together. They would be different. And so for me, a dream chef to work with are people like that, who've got a real passion for what they do. That chef that I met all those years ago who opened his restaurant had no passion. He didn't care if the restaurant was working or not. He was there to take the money and go. And it's really frustrating. But when you meet a chef who really cares about what he does, really cares about his team, really, really cares about that, I think it's great. Tasha, I met Tasha years ago when she was bringing it over, and I sat on the sofa, and just the way she was talking to me about what she wanted to do with the brand, I knew she was going to be massive. Just knew. I didn't get to work with her, but I knew she was going to be massive. But again, it
sort of ties back into making sure that they're curating the story in the right way. Because I'm sure, you know, there must be so many chefs out there that, you know, either they're phenomenal chefs but are very quiet and are camera shy, or they're the other way around, full on into the camera but rubbish cook.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. And I just think it's because there's so much noise out there as well. How do you differentiate yourself? I think it's really tricky.
It's funny actually. So obviously we were at Griff, and one of my staff said, "I got a picture with Joey," and I was like, "What do you mean you got a picture with Joey?" She's like, "I was so excited I got a picture with Joey," and I said, "Oh, okay, but I don't think of Joey like that. But Joey has created himself almost to be like a celebrity." He'll love that I'm saying this, but he has. But actually, when you get into him and cooking and food, his passion is still absolutely there. When we were in his restaurant in London, and he was presenting his menu, he really went into the detail of, "You've got to try this. This is really different. This is that." His passion is there. Everything he does, it's still there. He's not, just opening another venue and copying it. He's converting it. He's changing it. And yeah, I think he's definitely a dream as well.
But if we get into then the market, London, I would say nailed it. Dubai and UAE, you've nailed it. Your company is now also in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
And there's a lot of potential. Obviously, people are saying there's lots of things happening in that market. How have you found going into somewhere quite different?
So I'll be honest, I haven't been part of the big fine dining groups that have gone in, but I have been part of the conversation about why they haven't worked. And I've been very lucky to be part of that conversation. And I think it's about take a brand, put it over here, doesn't mean it's going to work. You have to understand the culture and what they're doing. We launched Cafe Ballood in Four Seasons Riyadh.
Right.
And the influencer piece has really helped that. Really, really helped that. And also the chef coming in and actually talking to people and saying, "I'm so happy I'm here," and sitting down and explaining the concept really helped. And it's been a very busy restaurant.
And how when it comes to influencers in the kingdom, what type of influencers are they? Are they foodie? Are they the glamorous ones? And how does it work in that market?
To be honest, they're all lifestyle. They're all, because the opportunity there is massive. They've obviously got beauty. You have got a little bit of food. You've got more chefs or making food at home that have got a huge following that also go out and are an influencer. I would say definitely the chef piece. They're really becoming influencers too. Fashion is quite a big one. Obviously, you've got Kuwaiti influencers that have a big influence in Saudi too. But then for me, I would say it's more about lifestyle, because they definitely dip into lots of things. But that's because there's only a handful that are actually really, really good and do get you those results. The problem is they haven't really learned that if you say the word, someone said to me, "How do I get an exclusive with this influencer? Make sure they don't go to this restaurant and do whatever." I said, the moment you use the word exclusive, it's going to cost you. So
right.
There you are.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. And Georgie, earlier on, you mentioned about that you have an amazing team, which you do. You have 50 plus members of staff.
Yeah.
And you were talking earlier on about retention. I'm really interested in that piece as to, in such a competitive environment globally, how do you keep your core team members?
So in London, we're now a remote agency after COVID, and I only work with working mums, and I'm very realistic to the fact that they can only work a certain hours a day, and I love it because they are so good at what they do. I work with their lifestyle, and they work brilliantly with me, and they deliver time and time again to the clients. So that piece works brilliantly. For Dubai, it's all been about building loyalty. So we have a profit share that we give to our staff after 3 years, and that's everyone from the receptionist to the driver to whoever. And I think I was telling you, like, our driver's been with us for almost 10 years, and he got a dividend last year, which meant he could buy a piece of land in Pakistan. And I'm so proud that we were able to do that.
That's
that means
incredible.
the world to me.
Yeah.
So, and they all give you a hug after they got their dividend. So that's one piece. We changed our maternity policy as well. So it's really about making sure they get that time with the family. And actually, one of the things I really want to do now is I want to review a bereavement policy as well. I don't think what we offer in this country for bereavement is enough. And so that's my next plan. But it's really listening to your staff and understanding what do they need and what can we do to help. Obviously, hybrid working is here and it's here to stay. I do want them in the office too. As someone who does a lot of hybrid working when I'm in the UK, I miss that interaction. I miss that bouncing off people. And I do think we need to get people back to the office. I'm happy for them to work from home from certain days, but I think that's really important as well.
No, I agree with you. And also congratulations for not only being in a market for 15 years, but also keeping your core team and also having the foresight in order to understand that to keep your business alive, you have to massively invest in the people.
Yeah, you do.
Because that's what what I always say. So I can be quite psychotic in the kitchen. However,
I need to come and see this.
Only during service because I care about the food. But my priority above the clients are the team because they are the ones who make things happen.
Exactly.
And I tell them all the time. So when I am being a nutter in the kitchen, it's not because I hate my team. It's because my expectation is that we push beyond the limits to deliver excellence at all times. And what happens in service stays in service. We talk about it afterwards and that's it. It's done. But you said something really important, which is listening to their team, because I just don't think that people do enough of that. And I think you're right. The bereavement thing, agreed completely.
Gotta do something about it.
The fact that, you have to be flexible towards making sure that the mothers, you're flexible with them, all of this type of stuff. I just think if we did more of that, then more people would just stay within companies and be more loyal, as you said.
I mean, in the UK, they're amazing. And something ridiculous like 60% of women leave their job in the first 5 years of having a child because they can't find their place. And what I'm trying to do is build something where you can find whatever place you want to and you can work however you want, because they are so qualified, but they just need flexibility. And that's all it is. And being able to give them that solution and to work with them. And the results are unbelievable. We're opening a hotel at the moment in Europe, and I can't believe what they've managed to achieve already. And we've only been working on it for 3 weeks. It's amazing.
Right. So I think more people need to sort of take a little page out of that book, because it sounds phenomenal, that work model.
Here's a hard one, because the younger staff coming through, I think one of the things that has happened is I've interviewed a lot of younger staff that kind of want to be where you sit today. And the only thing I do sometimes feel is they need to learn a little bit of what graft is, and really, I have a thing. So I come into the office when I arrive in Dubai and I watch what time people arrive and I watch what time people leave. I will never say anything, but in my head I can see. And tonight I left the office and there were 3 people in there, and I made a joke and I said, "Are you staying late?" Because I've stayed late. And then my HR guy said, "No, these guys are always here late." That just resonates. Like when I was working in the company before I set up Katch, I would be eating cold pizza at 10 o'clock at night, trying to get my work done because our event was the following week.
Right. But, and again, in the industry, a lot of the chefs are also saying the same thing about the younger ones learning the craft. They can't be head chef because they've done a TikTok and it's got 1 million views. It doesn't,
exactly.
It's that's one of the big things that we struggle with. Honestly.
You have to go through the good, the bad, the ugly. You have to
and the
work
worst.
really hard.
Yeah.
You have to work your way to the top. I might not have had years and years of experience in one place, but my goodness, I have had so many years of experience in loads of different places that's why I think I was able to build the agency like I did.
But then when you see the sort of PR and the dining landscape, specifically within the Middle East, how have you seen it change from 2011 to now?
Oh, massively. I mean, I made a joke tonight the other day about how everyone wants to be Zoomer and LPM, and I think what Fundamental's done with some of the venues they've managed to bring into the DIC shows that a new icon can be born. You know, what Tom's done with the Guild. You know, there's so many amazing restaurants and homegrown brands that are popping up. Like, Maine was my favourite go-to in the marina, and then we opened it in Studio City with Joey, and it was amazing to see how many local area would come in. So, you know, before it was all about the venues in the DIC. They were like the go-to, and then slowly, and then it was obviously a couple of restaurants and hotels, but that was really it. And then suddenly you don't need to have restaurants and hotels. Now you can have like standalone venues with alcohol without being in that area, which changed the dynamic of what happened. Then we saw obviously Tom and Serge come in and open a coffee shop in our calls, and then they changed coffee culture immediately. And now we're seeing things like coffee raves coming into place because the younger generation don't want to drink; they want to go out and drink coffee and rave. You know, so the market is constantly changing, and I think it's going to change even more. Like, one of the things we talked about is health and well-being. That's going to start coming into food. Look how many that AI restaurant thing we did was amazing. Like, how many people wrote a diet or a health concept to create.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the speed of how things are changing here is scary but amazing.
Well, you know how they say, so Dubai is now the centre of food and culture. It is because it's created such a landscape that we now are able to create our own concepts that actually have global impact. And I think that's the thing. Like, what I love is there are brands coming out of here and going out globally now. And that speaks volumes. Even Saudi, we're starting to see Lalati, for instance, is now going out globally from Saudi. So it would be really interesting to see what happens there too.
And within your career so far in PR and in business, what would you say has been your biggest lesson to date?
Be careful what you say. You still have to be very culturally aware. Now, don't get me wrong, I know the UAE has become a lot more chilled out on certain things, but you still have to be very culturally aware. And you still, I think that's been my biggest lesson. You know, I went into so I didn't open Saudi because everybody else opened an agency in Saudi. I opened in Saudi when we were ready to. And I have a massive belief when you open an agency, you should have enough money in the bank to cover for the first year. That's my rule of thumb, just because COVID has taught us a lot. But when I went into Saudi, I had a lot to learn, like a lot. Like, we launched entertainment in Saudi years ago. What was it, about 8 years ago? And even that was a learning curve. And then we now have worked on a couple of brands over there. We've done a lot of things over there. But this time, actually opening an agency over there has been such a lesson. Even from hiring staff, understanding quota, understanding, you know, all of that bit. But even the different areas of Saudi and where the giga projects are, they're different cultures. How Riyadh is as a dining culture is totally different to how Jeddah is. You know, and let's wait and see what happens with Red Sea. So, you know, it's culture for sure.
Well, I also love that, like, you know, just thinking about, you're right, you know, be careful what you say, be sensitive. Do you also put that advice into influencers or journals or media people that are traveling to different markets?
So we've been part of a number of different projects, like kind of writing documents for people on, you know, how to go and live in certain countries and things like that. And we will always give some kind of advice to a journalist or an influencer if they are going to a set country where we think they will need to be dressed in a certain way. Of course. But to be honest, if it's with a hotel group or it's with a restaurant group or it's with entertainment, they normally give us that advice as well.
Okay. All right. Very good. So now, Georgie, we have come to the quick fire round.
Oh, I don't know about this
of
round.
The podcast. It's very straightforward.
Okay.
It's nice and easy, and we make it nice and fun.
Okay,
so,
I'm really blunt. So if I come up with a blunt answer, could you wipe it?
Yeah, sure. First of all, you're not a chef, but I have to ask. This is the hardest question of the quick fire round. What's your favourite ingredient?
Ooh, red onion.
Red onion. Love it. Why red onion?
I don't know. I just really like the taste. I put it in everything. I drive my husband up the wall. He's like, "Why is there onion in this again tonight?" I'm like, "Because it said so in the dish." He's like, "No, it didn't." Yeah.
I like it. By the way, it's the first time we've ever had red onion in 200 interviews. So you're the first.
Good.
Spicy or pickled?
Spicy.
Fish and chips or pie and chips?
Does the pie and chips have gravy?
It can.
So pie and chips.
All right, pie and chips. Shawarma or sushi?
Sushi.
A lot of conviction there. Salted or caramel popcorn?
Salted.
As of this moment right now, what would you say are your top 3 cuisines that you love to eat?
Chinese, Italian, and Thai.
Oh, good one. Love Thai. In the same vein, who would you say are your top 3 food heroes, but they don't necessarily need to be chefs?
Ottolenghi.
Oh, yes.
I mean, his cauliflower cheese is just unbelievable. My stepdad, because bless him, he has done so many courses and his meals are always like going into a restaurant. I love it. My sister, she created a little Instagram page and stuff, but she loves food. Like, she's actually about to go off and do a sommelier course soon, but she just loves food. And every time I go around to her house too, it's always such an experiment. She was the one who did the deconstructed grandma cakes. Like, she comes up with such cool stuff.
What's her
all the time.
page?
Pardon?
What's the name of her page?
Lime and Soul.
Lime and Soul. Love it. Need to put that into the show notes. So I'll put that straight away in the show notes because I think that would be a nice one. And then, from all of your experience in the industry, now, as chefs, restaurateurs, we always see crazy stuff, right? But from your experience, can you tell me either the funniest restaurant or kitchen incident that you've seen or been involved in?
So when I was looking after Greg Malouf, he was like not happy that he had a PR agency, and he was quite mean to me in the first meeting. And then he took out of his bag this book and he said, "I want my menus to be like this." And he dumped this book and it was covered in cling film and it was his grandma's cookbook. And I was like, how am I going to do this? Like, how am I going to create a menu? Because obviously it's quite a bling restaurant and he wanted grandma's cookbook. So, but I took his grandma's story and I put it on the inside page of the menu.
Right.
But it was one of those moments in my career where I was like, this chef hates me and now he wants me to create his grandma's cookbook as a menu. I don't know how I'm going to do this. Because we did production as well and design and things like that. But that was probably the one moment in my career where something got dumped in front of me and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I remember looking at Faddy and him looking at me like, this guy's crazy. Like, what's wrong with him? So yeah, probably that. And then, as I said, and then the other one with him, so he called me Dragon Lady.
Right.
So I can't show any of my lovely signed cookbooks or pieces of art that he's given me over the years because every single one says Dragon Lady on it and normally something very funny underneath it as well. But when we were doing clay, Troy was in the kitchen and obviously it was a huge kitchen and I ice skated across the floor basically into Troy because I was sent to the kitchen to get Greg for a picture and I was in heels and I slid. Luckily I didn't knock anyone over, but it was that moment where it could have gone terrible and then I had to persuade him to come out of the kitchen.
Oh my God.
But that was
all okay?
All okay. He came, well, I told you I had a Victoria's Secret model. And I said, and he said, I'll only do a picture with them. I said, okay, deal.
Very good. Very good. So then, for anyone listening who potentially wants to get into the world of PR, what would be your advice for them?
Show how you tell stories. Show how creative you are. I can't stand it when I just get, I'm looking for a job, here's my CV. Show me you care. Show me that I love creative people. Just show me how creative you can be. And I would probably say, come on in, let's have an interview.
Love that. And then the final question. What advice would you give to a 16-year-old Georgie?
Get back up on stage. Definitely. Just do it. Stop worrying about what people think and just do it.
Love that. So then, Georgie, if anybody wanted to get hold of you through social media, how can they do that?
So our Instagram is Katch_int with a K, and I am Georgie Woollam's on Instagram, but you can find us at Katch International on the website.
So what I will also do is I will link all of those in the show notes for anybody to get hold of you.
Amazing. Okay. Thank you.
So the only thing that's left to say is, first of all, for anyone who knows you and has been involved with you and working with your company, who have not had the opportunity to say thank you, I would like to say thank you on their behalf, because you've made a huge impact, whether it's been in London, in Saudi, globally. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And on behalf of the Chef JKP podcast, thank you so much for taking the time to be here, because we really value your time. I know that you're super busy. You don't live in the UAE. So, it's really phenomenal to have you here and to get your insights, because it really is incredible.
Oh, thank you so much. No, I've loved it. Thank you.
Thank you. What an absolutely amazing conversation. Georgie, thank you for your time, your transparency and your insight. It's been fascinating to hear the engine behind the scenes, the strategy behind the moment, the craft behind that all-important campaign. If you want to see more of what Georgie is doing, head over to the show notes. To everyone listening, if this episode made you think about how you're positioning your restaurant, your menu, or your story, then we've done exactly what we've set out to do. If you've enjoyed it, please follow and share this episode, and share it with as many people as possible, because it's Christmas, so it's a time of giving. Super important. At the same time, if you want to give some people some beautiful gifts, of course you have our thermos bottles, and they keep everything hot and cold. They look pretty stylish, and everyone in the world, literally everyone in the world, should have one, because they're so cool. So yeah, if you want them, head over to the show notes. Well, gang, thank you so much for tuning in and staying until the very, very end. Don't forget, the next episode is going to be a festive special that you do not want to miss. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. And, all for me that's left to say is, this is Chef JKP signing out. Until Christmas, food is memories.